Hi everybody and welcome to Greater Manchester Stories. This episode's amazing guest is Billy Howarth, and he's got a really interesting story about an organisation he set up. So first of all, welcome Billy to the show.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you.
And the first question really is, tell me about this organisation, what it's called and what it does.
Yes, certainly. Parents Against Grooming UK. It's got many arms of what we do. It's prevention, it's recovery, it's support, and of course it's empowerment.
Yep. So when you say Parents Against Grooming, what does that mean?
Well, it was quite an easy name to name my group because all parents should be against grooming. So, I were categorising. If you're a parent, you're like me, I'm a parent, then I think it's something we should be doing is looking at making sure people are getting support, making sure we all can do what we can do to prevent this from happening because prevention is massive and we need to put pressure on people for accountability.
We do. Accountability is key there because this happened basically because across the country with Rotherham, Rochdale, Bolton, all these places, it happened because nobody was ever held accountable in the first place. So other places then, the police, the social services, the councils, they're too worried about their job. So they know they're not going to get held accountable. So they always make the easy decision, which benefits them.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that coin, it's always the kid that suffers, isn't it? So I felt, being a survivor, I felt I had to create something where and an open door where people could go for help. Because the way it's all set up, especially back then in 2010, there was nowhere for anyone to go with these problems until we opened.
So when people approach you or come to you or reach out to you, what happens? What do you do?
So initially we have appointment. Well, it does depend. If it's a survivor, if it's someone with intelligence, we log the intelligence and pass it on to the police. So there's an all-time trust in police in the UK, especially in Greater Manchester, an all-time low, especially in Rochdale. So they don't want to go to the police. So they come to me, and then I kind of help them go to the police. Then there's the support side of things where you'll come in, you'll meet with my head of support, which is a lady called Lisa, fully qualified counsellor. She can sit there and she can then decide whether you can be part of the peer-to-peer women's group or you can have one-to-one peer-to-peer counselling or whether you need to go and seek external medical assistance when it comes to mental health. Some people who come to us, Nick, need deep counselling and we're not qualified to do that, so we have to signpost. So that's basically, in a nutshell, the main thing we do is signpost.
Right. No, excellent. And that's what people need because if you're a victim of child sexual abuse or assault, where do you turn to? How do you know where to turn to unless you already know? And most people don't know, so it's hard to get help.
There's a massive problem on this, Nick, and it's something I've tried to campaign on for a long time. I took a family, and I'm not going to name them, of course, took a family to Rochdale Police Station. There was some severe child abuse issues. I took the nan and granddad to Rochdale Police Station. They was turned away to 101. Now, this is happening right across the UK. You can no longer report a crime at the front desk of a police station. They will send you away to 101. And now, a lot of people won't go on the phone and talk about this stuff. It needs to be in person. Do you understand? It's that easier to trust someone face to face than it is over the phone because you don't know it's being recorded. You know what I mean? All them things stick up to people, you know. So we need a new way. We need, if it's child sexual exploitation or CSA, it needs to go straight up. You know, there's none of this ring 101, and that's a big problem. You know.
Right, let me just be clear. So you've turned up at a police station with somebody who wanted to report sexual assault and they turned you away and told you to ring 101.
Yeah, that's the protocol right across the UK. I've actually done research on this, Nick. You cannot go into, there's only two things you can do at a front desk. Ask for details of your crime and asked to speak to an inspector. You cannot report a crime at the front desk of a police station, especially in Greater Manchester. Now, I've tried this out in Barrow, in Morecambe, in Telford, and Wrecking, West Mercia Police, and I've tried it in Bolton, Bury, and Oldham too.
Wow, things have changed since I was based in police stations. Things have definitely changed. I was based in police stations 2008, 9, 10, around that time. I was a council manager based in police stations. I wasn't a police officer. Um, and that was the time when they started closing down the police stations because of austerity, looking for easy cuts. But even then, you could still report things. If you could find a police station, you could report stuff. But now they've gone one step further. I didn't know that at all.
And that's not new to me. I've known about that for the last 10 years,
Right. Well,
since 2012. That. So it's like, you know, that's part of the problem, because a lot of people will walk away from that police station and not bother. Do you know what I mean? Is that the tactic? Why? I don't know, but it's wrong. Anybody who's been a victim of sexual exploitation, whether it be a child or an adult, or any sexual crime, should be dealt, because they need help immediately.
yeah, absolutely. And you're probably right. Part of this is to stop them receiving more and more complaints and more crimes to investigate. When I worked at the council, I sat in at meetings where the meeting was about designing new systems of reporting for the council for anything, litter, bin collect, it doesn't matter what it is. And it was all about how do we make this system more difficult, because the more difficult it is, the more people will give up and stop reporting things to us. I was part of some of those meetings.
Yeah, yeah. So it's lunacy. Things like this need to change. I mean, we can't change it around the UK, but hopefully, if the people are clever enough to elect you, maybe that's one of the things we can change. Anyone who walks into a police station should get instant access to the ACSA unit. Um,
There'll be huge changes to the police if I'm elected next year. Absolutely huge changes.
I know it's a
Well,
little thing to some people, but it's massive to those that are walking in the front door after. Let me tell you, it took me 30 years myself to walk into the front door of a police station, and they did it to mean it. They turned me away to 101. Do you know what I mean? It took me 30 years to walk through that door and say those words. And when I did, they went, "Yeah, we can't listen to it, mate. You'll have to go to 101." And I nearly never, it's only because I had some great guy with me who empowered me, like I tried to do to others, who said, "Come on, we'll make the call now." You know what I mean? And we did it there and then. So, yeah, it's a big problem.
I first heard about you and Parents Against Grooming a few months ago when a mutual friend of ours told me about your group. And obviously, I made contact with you and we've become friends since then. Um, I've been involved in some of your campaigning. So I've spoken twice now at your street campaigns where your first one
Rochdale.
was Rochdale. I didn't go to that one. Then it was Bolton, and then it was Manchester City Centre, Oldham, not Bolton, Oldham, and then Manchester City Centre. And we've got one coming up in Newton Heath outside the headquarters of Greater Manchester Police. So tell me why you're organising these street protests and what do you hope to gain from it?
So each one of us has a knock-on effect to the other one. So the first one I did in Rochdale was on the day the information was released that there was 58 men charged for Operation Lytton. Each and every single one of them was bailed. So that was the reason I set up Rochdale. Then, obviously, in the meantime, while I'm working on that, I'm working with people in Oldham. I've been going to council meetings for 2 years in Oldham, supporting the people of Oldham that are trying to do the same what it took me 15 years to get done in Rochdale. So I'm trying to help guide them and help them fight again. So we went to Oldham next. So the on Saturday, the Manchester Centre one, the aim was to let Andy Burnham. We're not happy with the way things are going. We're not happy with all the reviews. We want an Hillsborough type independent inquiry. And of course, because of the pro-Palestine march, it all went a bit to motion. We had to go around the back, and a lot of people left who were a bit intimidated and stuff. So we decided that I had three speakers that couldn't make it through that crowd, Nick, and I don't like that. I believe because we're in Manchester, because we're aiming at Andy Burnham, these three people, it's important they have a say. So I thought I'm going to do a rerun, but I'm going to the H quarters because I've been told that what happened on Saturday is going to be happening every Saturday.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree. We don't want your message and your protest being drowned out by a bigger protest. That's not as important as your protest. So you're right. I think if we have outside of Greater Manchester Police Headquarters, then we're at the right spot to focus that protest on the failings of GMP and what we expect GMP to do going forward. Because I'm a big supporter of the police, because if you want to live in a civilized society, you need a police force. You need a professional, decent police force. Otherwise, the lunatics rule the streets. So we need the police. We just want them better. We just want them to be more productive.
I use a quote which I've used for years. If you look at my old videos, I say it's not the boots on the ground, it's the asses in the seats that are the problem. Do you know what I mean? The way it's set up. So we need a good ass in the seat, Nick. We need a good ass in the seat.
Hopefully, I've got a good ass, and I'll polish that seat in the mayor's office as much as I
You
can.
don't say anything that I disagree with, and that's a good start. You know what I mean? I've been speaking, like I said, with friends. I've watched everything you've had to say, and I absolutely agree with.
I rarely come across anyone who's got anything that they can point to that disagree with what I've said. Apart from the odd far left lunatic, apart from them, I don't come across anybody, because everything I say is common sense. Everything I say used to be the norm 20 years ago. And so I'm not a radical. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. All I'm saying is we need to get back to some common sense and some common decency. That's all my campaign is really about.
Yeah, and that's what's needed: some common sense and some prevention and some accountability. And we'll continue to do these street protests where and when's needed to support. I mean, I'm going on around the UK. It's not just Greater Manchester, Nick, that's suffered at this. You know what I mean? We've still got Bolton, Bury, we've got Barrow, Cumbria. We're being asked to go all over to do these protests. So I'm going to continue to do it until we get change. I'll keep fighting, hoping we get change.
No, absolutely, and so you should. And you're passionate about this because of your personal experience. Can you tell me a
Yes,
little bit
sir.
about your personal experience in this field?
So yeah, there was a point I couldn't talk about it publicly, but I'm okay now. I can talk about it because I empower others to try and talk about it themselves, and it does help. I am a survivor of child exploitation. I was abused several times as a child, between the ages of 10 and 13. Didn't deal with it well as a youngster, and as a young teenager, I went a bit off the ropes. But then when I was about 19, 20, I had a child, and it's all been smooth sailing since then. So, and then in 2010, it happened. My kids weren't allowed to have mobile phones and stuff in 2010. They're all obviously a lot older and do what they want now. I can't tell them nothing. But back then, they weren't allowed a phone. They were certain they weren't allowed internet. The only thing she could have was BlackBerry Messenger, so she could speak to a group of her friends. I was put her on my Facebook, and someone tried to contact her on my Facebook, and I caught him, and he was a 30-odd-year-old man saying, "Come and meet me." So obviously I start speaking to friends, parents, I start speaking to, and then when I put something on Facebook, the floodgates open within 2 weeks. I thought, right, we need to organise this properly instead of me just putting stuff on Facebook. So I set up Parents Against Grooming UK. So it was more of a hub for people to go to and talk about, and try and get information and share and try and protect the kids, really, because at that time it was a dangerous place for anyone, any child of all ages.
And do you know what? It still is, Billy. It still is.
Yes, yes, yes. So much so today, because the ones that allowed to happen then didn't get held to account. So nothing's changed. We get the proverbial line of lessons were learned. Things won't happen again in 2000. What happened in 2010? And there we go. Operation Lytton proves it happened again. It happened again. Don't forget, we've had the Ixer inquiry in Rochdale. So, as well as the grooming scandals that I've worked on, I've also worked on campaigning on Northview School, which is a school that was closed mid-90s because of the abuse committed there by Cyril Smith and his friends. So, yeah, it's been a long fight.
Well, I think all I can say is don't stop, don't give up, don't stop. I think you're doing great work. You're raising something that all the career politicians actually want to sweep under the carpet and ignore. They don't approve of this, of what happened, but they don't want to get their hands dirty trying to fix it because, do you know what? They're thinking to themselves, there's no votes in this and I only care about votes.
Yeah. And basically, that's why it was ignored in the beginning, because they knew they didn't want to upset the apple cart and destroy the vote. It was very ingy back then between Liberal Democrats and Labour. So, yeah, it's crazy what's happened, but it's happened now. We need to move forward, but we can't do that until people are held to account because they're still the same people sat in the same positions, in the same councils, collecting the same wages.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you, Billy, for coming on my podcast. And for people, yeah, anybody wants to meet me and Billy in person, Billy's next event, which I'll be speaking at, is Saturday the 18th of November, and it's outside JMP's headquarters at Central Park in Newton Heath, which is next to the big tram stop. So make your way there for 2 p.m. You'll get to speak to both of us. Thanks, Billy, and I'll see you again soon.
See you soon, Nick. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Bye bye.